like to call the order the Capital Improvement Committee meeting of March 21st, 2022 at 10:03 a.m. Obviously, we've already heard from all our departments. Lisa has put together a,
Yeah, well, are there more?
Oh, I didn't get one.
Yeah, these are just right here. I didn't.
okay,
You have another,
yep.
Oh, here's one.
Right?
That's.
I got my minutes. I don't have
So I had Lisa put together a list of everything
the,
on
oh, good.
2023
Yeah.
request list. Let's grab mine. I have it somewhere. Just to go over the rating process, Ben had asked me this question prior to the meeting, so just for clarity, it gets confusing every year. If you look at the top of the categories, it says priority 1 and score points. Ignore the priority 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's for the departments to figure out where their priority list is. When we grade them, according to these categories, you're gonna take the score. So if it meets everything in the first column, you're gonna give that project 4 points. Forget about that priority thing. It's just too confusing. If it makes it easier for you, just cross it right off your list and then you won't even think about it. Because that's for the departments to rate their projects. That's not, we don't rate them as a priority. We're just gonna grade them on points. It gets confusing every year, but that'll simplify it. There actually should be the same list, but in 2 different formats. One for priority for the departments and one for scoring for us. I'll ask Lisa to correct that, so next time around, it's a little clearer for everybody. We can go through this afterwards. I'm just gonna bring everybody up to speed. I just did a little bit of homework prior to this. Under the capital projects, under the community development, it's the 5th one down. That's gonna be moved into budget, so it's gonna come off our list. So I just put omit and I put move to budget.
Page 2.
Yep, it's on the next page.
CDD.
Oh, this part, okay.
Yeah, so,
So say that again.
you take that off our capital list, that's gonna be moved into a budget item it's gonna be a multi-department
So,
use.
which one?
The 5th one down, CDD,
Oh, right here.
it's $14,000, the evaluation.
First page, second page of the thing.
The 5th one down. Yeah. I talked to Matt about that. That's going to be used by multiple departments, so he's going to put it into the budget and take it off the capital list. The town clerk's request, that's on the second page. It's going to be the 3rd and 4th item. I mean the 4th and 5th item. Climate control system for the storage room. What that was identified as was these storage closets that we have back here, to put in a climate control system in there to maintain the ancient books that we have. And then the second item is the fire resistant, water resistant vault. That would have been a separate structure of some sort that was made, and I've had some conversations with the town administrator and Adam Furno that there's a potential to build that out within this building. So that would take up those 2 things, but there's design work and specs that need to come out of that. So we're gonna take that off of 23 and move it forward into 24. That way we don't have to worry about trying to grade that particular thing.
So the 60,000
Both of
Both of those items, because if it becomes a build out within this structure, the climate control would be part of that build-out, so it would be combined, and it's gonna ultimately, most likely be less expensive than what's earmarked at
And
this
you're
point.
moving it to
FY '24.
24. Yep,
sorry, Pat,
yeah.
I interrupted.
Just it's difficult to go through all this scoring, so I figured if we could
Sure.
clean up a couple of those little items, it would be helpful for everybody. Go down, so that was the 4th and the 5th, same page. 6th, 7th, 8th, go to the 8th and the 9th, which is the building department's vehicle purchase.
Yeah, 50,000.
That's gonna not be out of our current capital budget on the free cash. It's gonna be a raise and appropriation article on the town warrant.
It's still going to be part of the capital article, it's just a different funding source.
Okay, so it'll still be part of, all right, so I misunderstood that. So it'll still be part of it, but it's not, it's gonna be a separate funding source.
Correct, yeah.
Yep. So it'll be a separate line item on the capital?
Well, the way the motion will read, it will say, I move to raise and appropriate the sum of 50,000 and transfer from free cash the sum of X number to fund the following, and it'll be one of the items listed.
Correct.
But the
Okay.
raise and appropriate will have a direct offset to the vehicle.
Okay. Thank you, Gene. The,
So the question I have, Mr.,
Yes.
is we don't score it, correct?
we can still score it then, because if it's gonna be part of the capital, I misunderstood, so
Okay.
Gene corrected me, it'll still get scored,
All right,
and it'll still be, so if everybody scores it, that it makes the sheet, I guess, it's gonna end up on, so if everybody gave it a 1 and everything else got a 4, I guess it wouldn't make it. Is that correct, Gene, or would it still go on?
Yeah, I would still score it.
Okay.
It probably would get a higher vote because you have its own funding.
All right, okay, thank you. So the next item on that same page is the web storage of archived documents of 8,500. Matt's gonna move that into the budget as well, because it's gonna be a multi-department use.
What year is that for?
This year, or next year, FY.
Well, all these things that we're looking at on our sheet now are for fiscal year 2023. You don't have any of the 5-year plan on here. So we're just to help everybody, some of the things we move forward, just to get them off our list, and what, I get some clarity on how they're gonna fund it. It's like they're gonna move that into budget, so we don't need to score that, that's not part of our capital anymore. And it's actually, it's gonna be, that's under the $10,000 mark, and also, going back to the first page on the community development, that also is under the $10,000 mark, because that 14,000 is inaccurate.
And what's the 10,000 threshold mean?
So if it has a useful life of more than 4 or 5 years, I think it's 5 years, and it's over $10,000, then it's a capital item.
I see, okay.
If it's under that, then it's a reoccurring expense of the department.
Gotcha.
Right, Gene? I'm getting it.
You get it?
I think it's in the bylaw, actually.
No, it's in the bylaw. That doesn't mean that I always recite it properly.
It's in your brain, too.
No, I just look at the red pen to see if I'm gonna get a check mark or not. Okay, so now that we've gone through that, anybody have any questions about these things that are on the list that we can hear out? I know that Shirley and Ellie do not have access to the SharePoint, so whatever documents that you two would need, if you can tell me, I'll get them printed out for you and I'll bring them to you, or have them accessible for you.
I have a question.
Yes.
With the town clerk wanting a climate-controlled system for storage room, and the building department, and that, this seems to be being put into the operating budget, the storage of archived documents, which I guess is upstairs. And that the library has an archivist that should be consulted on how to organize all of this, so that you don't have every department going in different directions on how to classify it, so to speak.
No, absolutely. So on the town clerk, and I'll split up into two different answers for you. The town clerk is obligated to keep certain documents forever.
Yeah, I know.
Those are the ones that she already knows what they are, and those are the ones she's trying to preserve. They're in these rooms. These are these ancient books that are all handwritten. And what Ken's talking about is scanning them in and actually getting them into our cloud or wherever they go. And there has been conversations outside of this committee as to whether we utilize somebody from the library, because that's been brought up prior to you even bringing it up. The town administrator brought it up to me, actually. So that thought process is already there. So first, we got to get to the point where they approve and authorize the purchase of this equipment, and then there'll be a system put in place that we're not just scanning in useless pieces of paper.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Yep.
But that's the machinery that the building department is buying, this scanner, I guess, expensive scanner, can, film also those ancient documents that the town clerk has, even though she's not allowed to throw them out. You want to preserve them somehow. So
Yeah, and that's above my pay grade. I don't know what the process is.
I hate that expression, you know.
Okay,
Our pay grade is 0, you know,
Okay.
and Dick too, you know.
Okay.
We don't get paid anything to do this, so.
Okay, so you can hate the expression, it's past my knowledge,
Okay.
past my experience. I have no idea if you can even tamper with those books, take them apart and scan each page. I would assume not. So again, that would be something that you would want to bring up with the town clerk. That's not even for us to determine. All we're trying to
I
do-
know that it's been done in Sturbridge. They took every town meeting record and filmed it. So it's available to the population on CDs. This is over 10 years ago.
Yep, again, I would have to respect the position of the town clerk, because she's the one that's in charge of that and obligated by law to do whatever. I wouldn't go, I don't know what Sturbridge does or any other town. I have to worry about what we're doing here. So you could talk to her about it and find out. But we're just trying to figure out if we want to get a scanner to take all the old blueprints and whatnot that we have in there. We weren't even talking about these ancient documents. You wouldn't take something like that and run it through a large format scanner, because it would shred the paper and it would be useless. So I would think that would
It would be
probably
a
look
camera
more of an
type thing.
electronic image of it instead of a actual scanning of the paper.
Okay, I won't talk anymore.
No, you can talk all you want, but I don't want to get off track and decide as to what document. That's not, we're being asked if we
No, I
if we
think all
want to
of these
grade on
things
it.
should be coordinated, and if Matt is working on that by, you know, mentioning the library and, you know, bringing the building department and the town clerk in all these discussions, then I'm a happy camper.
Right, but that wouldn't be part of the capital discussion. That would.
Right.
That,
Right.
you would have to have a separate meeting of the keeper of records.
Right,
Is it?
right, but I just don't want people asking for stuff that is duplicating what other people, like the 8,500, that could be used for a lot of the town clerk's stuff, and it could be used for some of the old stuff that the library has too, although I think most of theirs has been scanned in by the state somehow. Okay.
Shirley?
I know know we're not, well,
No, we can talk about whatever we want. I just don't want to, I don't want to be here all afternoon
No, hear you.
talking about
just
the process.
going through and how much do we have for capital funds?
What do we have for capital?
Yeah.
What, you want to know what I want to tell you, or you want to know what we have?
I want to know what we have.
I believe Matt told Mike what.
Yep. So I like, and this is just a mental thing on my part, I like to use $800,000 for our capital number. I've been told that we had $1.1 million for it. The problem with using the higher number is you're going to exceed that number, and then you got to figure out where you're going to back up. So if you have it a little conservative, then you can go over it. But now that it's out there, it doesn't really matter if we're conservative or not. So
So what is your thought?
I was told that it was $1.1 million is what we have for capital.
Yeah, and you like,
Well, I like to start around 800,000 because we're gonna end up over it. So if we have a fire truck that's 750,000, we have the, adding to the match of the Chapter 90 fund, which is 360,000, we're already at 1,110,000.
yeah.
So if we start at 1.1 million, so what do we do? So that's why I take a little bit more of a conservative approach to it, but that's fine. It's out there. That's what I was told we had was 1.1 million. We can, more than happy to use that number. Yes, Mr.
So
Paving.
Mike, on the first page, page 2,
Yep.
I'm a little weak here, but they have roadway paving was 360. And then on page 3, town administrator pavement replacement repair was 363. How were those different?
They're not different.
Okay,
They're not different. So that's one and the same. He duplicated it.
okay.
So he has,
A little higher number for the town administrator there, right?
John probably rounded off and Matt might have got it. When I see it all the way down to the end, he used an actual number. So that might have been our Chapter 90 money. Gene, would you have any idea to know if that Chapter 90 money was 363, 676 versus 360?
I don't.
It wouldn't be an even number?
No, I don't
Yeah,
have
so-
it with me though.
I would assume that that's what he's doing is, because they're too close, 360, 363. I would assume that he took the actual number of the Chapter 90 money, he's trying to match that. So he duplicated John's effort, so that's a good catch on that, Dick. So,
He requested, Matt requested
requested-
363 last week, right?
correct.
But if we agreed on that, that's a third of the money right there, isn't it?
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
that's what we go through each
Is that part
time.
of the
It's
1.1
hard to, do these different things, and that's why I did some homework on my own without violating our rules, and now I cannot talk about it because we're in a meeting, to find out what it is that we actually need to do and what can get moved. So that's why I talked to Adam. We can go right down the list if you want.
So, excuse me, Mike, just for clarification, which number are we using for the highway road paving? 360 or 363?
We can take off John's and use it, Matt's not here to confirm. Actually, I would rather leave John's on there and take Matt's off.
So which one?
Just the, under the town administrator, pavement replacement and repair. I know it's the same thing, but I would rather confirm it.
So you want to take the 363 off?
Yeah, we just put a hold on it. Put a hold next to it.
363.
Yeah, and if you want to score it, you can, but we'll just put a hold on that particular number.
It is 363, 676.
Okay.
That's Jeff.
So that's the, so the guess was correct. That the actual money we get from Chapter 90 currently was 363 and 676, so Matt matched it dollar for dollar. All right. John just guesstimated, he rounded off to 360, so that's why he has it into his request at 360. So
which one's coming off?
Okay, so relax for a minute. Let me explain something to you. Let me go through this little list. There's only a few things that I'm gonna go through.
Okay.
I didn't have in fairness to the fire department and the police department, I didn't talk to either one of them. I did this when I came in the building in the last 15 minutes. I happened to,
Okay.
was able to commandeer a few people and ask these questions in preparation for today. So under, on the first page, under building maintenance, the adult social center parking lot, Adam feels that it's a strong need to get that done. The other, the next three items, the building, in this building, the elevator roof, the lobby windows that's down the end of the hall, and the key system, he has a quote on the key system, but he said if he had to, he could wait on all those things for another year. And we have a lot of big ticket items on here, and that was my motivation to go around and see what we could have a little bit of leeway with. All right, so the first one he feels that he needs, the next three, which is the roof, the lobby windows, and the key system, he could bump that out a year. The next one is the mapping system, that's been moved to budget, that's off our list. The highway paving, especially after this current season, we've seen the effects of the freezing and raining, and everybody complaining about the roads. They're in tough shape, they are. If we, the highway superintendent feels that he needs to have that on there to help him get the roads corrected. Yes, Ellie?
So the 363,676 is a Chapter 90 grant. So is that part of the 1.1 or the
Yeah,
800,000?
We get $363,676 from Chapter 90 funds.
Right.
What they're looking to do is match that. And the reason behind this is we had Stantec did
I remember all of that.
well, let me explain, because we have people watching now. That you brought it up, I want to finish what I'm saying. So we had Stantec do an evaluation of the roads, and their recommendation, it was either 1.4 or 1.7 million dollars over the next 20 years consistently to correct all the roads to get them up to proper condition. So if you match that money at just use a real simple number, 360, and we put another 360 with it, brings you up to $720,000, which is 50% of a recommended amount of 1.4 million. I don't know if it's 1.4, 1.7, I believe it's 1.4, but people have said 1.7. So that's what the logic is behind that. So anybody else have any questions on that particular item? No?
Oh, Mr.
Yes.
I think we can also take off the diesel exhaust system. We're going to fund that through the budget.
Yeah, we're just, if you don't mind, Chief.
That's fine.
Let me go down the list and then just grab that. And
Okay.
as we get to it, just grab whatever it is that you have a thought on it, and we'll just, we'll do it.
I had forgotten to say it, that's all.
Yeah, the highway garage is only on as a placeholder. Obviously, that's not gonna get funded, it hasn't even been designed as of yet. You don't have any valuation to it. The international dump truck with the plow and the sander, the highway superintendent feels that he needs that. The sidewalk tractor plow and the lawnmower, even though they're very tired, he could get by for another year if he had to. So we're down to the fire department engine number 1. Again, I haven't had an opportunity to speak with the chief about any of his requests. The exhaust system, chief, what would you like to do with that?
We were waiting to find out about whether it was going to be three-phase or whether they could just put a new
Single-phase, yeah.
transformer out there. They're going to do that, so that brings the number down, so we're going to pay for it out of our budget this
Yeah,
year.
okay, so that's moved, so we're gonna take the exhaust system and move that to budget.
That's the 30,000, right?
Yes.
Then you have the fire department windows, doors, HVAC system with the boiler. You have the fire department floors replacement. Fire department security cameras. Interior furnishings.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wasn't there some discussion on the $30,000 that the town administrator was requesting for not road-related? It was something to do with the security system that he was mentioning, and Ken had initially mentioned it as a need for the fire department, but there was, now I can't remember. I probably wrote it down back of one of these.
Excuse me for a minute.
Gene, what numbers are we still waiting on, big budget wise? Because there are some that were going to be trickling in, like Valley Tech, right? We're still waiting on
That
that.
one just came in.
Okay. What else is out there yet?
Health insurance, not because of the rate, because of the census. We have to look at that.
Okay.
We haven't gotten the official confirmation on the rate, but that would be in property and liability.
Okay. So things are falling into place in terms of what we know, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, Ellie, on that $30,000 request, it said, I don't know why it was listed as non-road related, because it's non-road related. It's for the phone system.
But there was-
Upgrading the town-wide phone system.
Yeah,
I had forgot what it was, so.
yeah.
I went
I
on
have,
paper for-
on Ken's request thing, I've written next to security cameras, can use fiber optics, question mark, and then radios stuff. So it was something connected with the radio.
Yeah, so I might have brought that up when Kent was doing a proposal about the system, because the radio system, we had to have its own service, for lack of a better description. And we're only using a very small percentage of that, probably about 9% of what the capacity is on that. So it's not, you're not going to take that and add a whole bunch of stuff to it. You have to be selective as to what you can do. So we're going to add, we can use that for security system, whether it's at the town hall, the school department, the fire department. I had brought that up because we have a fiber optics that goes from the fire department to this building to the school for the radio system to work, because we have a antenna that's located on the roof of the school, and just so we have a definite connection through the whole system. That's why they have the fiber optics. So the question was to suggest to Kent to look into that. Maybe that's a possibility for him. That's where that comment came from.
Did he answer?
Excuse me?
Did he answer? Did you look at?
Well, no, I didn't send him out for homework. It was just a
Yeah.
suggestion. It was just a suggestion with his request. His request is still valid on there. Yeah, yeah.
All right.
We don't give homework assignment.
Okay.
Yes.
So, Mike, on page 1, the placeholder for highway garage replacement. I know the talk of the new building was also a public safety building, right?
Yeah, so, all right, so,
So I'm just looking at the $500,000 for the fire station stuff, but if eventually we had a new building that had more agencies in it, would that be something to think about in terms
well,
of?
yeah, you always take that into consideration, so let me just explain where we're at. So we just concluded the feasibility needs assessment committee with the fire, police, and highway. That is on the next agenda for the selectmen, we're sending it back to them. Then they'll evaluate the results of our assessment that we did on all three departments, actually outline what they currently have, what they need to get them up to speed at this point, and what their future expansion best guess is. It hasn't been defined that it's going to be one building, hasn't been defined that it's going to be 3 buildings, hasn't been defined if it's going to be 1 department, 2 departments, or 3 departments. All we did is we put this together to get the information compiled so then we can make an educated decision. These things that are going on with the fire department as far as renovation, they may very well stay there and that building gets renovated. I don't see that building getting torn down and thrown away, so it's not going to be a wasted effort to put any repairs into that building.
So basically,
How old is the building, Ken?
it's 21 years old, but basically what I did, Dick, is I just figured, not even considering the feasibility thing, I just acted like it didn't even exist, and if we were to do work and replace the boiler and put AC in, then we would have to, that's why I just threw a number out there, because I'm just dealing with what I know is reality coming down the road. Whatever happens there, none of us really know yet, so that's all. I just, planning ahead is all.
There's 2 things that happen. If you went on the hopes that we were able to accomplish getting these 3 departments corrected, and it didn't happen, then this building would be in much worse shape as we go along. So you kind of, because things, the way it was designed originally, and way some of the conditions are of the building, it is what it is at this point. Because they went to a full-time fire department from a call fire department, it changed the whole dynamics of their building. So now we got to figure out how to fix it.
Still seems like a new building to me. I mean, it
Right.
seems like they just built it.
Well, I know.
20 years ago.
I mean, I still get mail that says new fire station, but it's 22 years old.
But he put return to sender on.
Thank you, Mike.
Yep. So we had the floors, we were down to interior furnishing, so the next thing was the forestry tanker truck. The next 2 items for the town clerk were pushed off until 2024. And we have the security system for the cameras for the police department. The next one, the police station replacement, again, it's just a placeholder in there. It's not going to be done in 2023. There's too much work that has to be done to it. You can still grade it if you want to, but it's going to eat up all our free cash if we use that one. That'll have to come on and figure out a funding source for that anyways. Building department vehicle purchase, that's going to be, we talked about that, they're going to raise and appropriate. It'll get transferred out of free cash, but it's going to come from their future building receipts. The scanner, that's going to be in there, that's going to be pulled out of budget. Because it's going to be a multi-department thing. And then, as a suggestion of one of our members, to make sure that there's a joint communication to utilize everybody's expertise in doing it properly. The paving replacement is the same as what John's is, it's just a more accurate number, 363,676 versus 360,000. The next one is not pavement repair, but it's the phone system. So you might want to put that just for a note so you understand what it is.
Which one is that, Mike? I'm sorry.
That's the, right on, the second town administrator, pavement replacement and repair, 30,000.
Yeah.
It's actually the phone system. Douglas Primary School oil tank, 140,000. Douglas Middle School oil tank, 140,000. They're both 10,000 gallon tanks. School department has a front mounted mower replacement. The last year, the next one, the Bunsen burners and the electronic control, that was on our list last year. Now, apparently they still haven't had that corrected. The primary school table replacement was also on our list for last year. The next two things are two new items, which is the convection oven for the middle school and the high school steam jacketed kettle. That's pretty much the list that we have to work with for the 2023. We need to get through that, and then we need to figure out a list for the subsequent 5-year plan that's going to come out. So I'm going to have, I'll get to you in a second, Ellie. I'm going to have Jen just compile a list so then we see what those are, and then we can figure out what our 5-year plan is. She put this together quickly for us, so we had this for today. This is important to get through. Yes, Ellie?
Well, since you have to be determined on the highway garage replacement and to be determined on the police station replacement, could you also include the library to be determined, handicap accessibilty?
Well, that wouldn't be,
Well,
wait a minute, listen to me for a minute, and just hear me out. You said something, and I just want to answer you.
Okay,
Then
go.
you can say whatever you want afterwards. Justin came in and he presented the way he presented. So is that, he has $2.8 million on there, is that the number that we're supposed to be using, or is it, are you telling me that it's not?
No, but he said on the proposal, I think, that 2 point whatever million, based on Charlie, what's his name's
Plan,
plan,
which you're not using.
which we're not using, but
Right.
that was the last amount he had. We were using a plan that Aaron Sokrat had sketched out, but it's not official. That he, and we, and I think Justin said at that meeting that it would be between $500,000 and $1 million. But it was a placeholder, just like the police station and the highway department.
Yeah, so, okay. I guess that'll be up to the board on how, the committee on how they, as a unified group, how we want to put that forward. I would like to put, it's like, I don't like having the price tag on the police department, we haven't defined it. Is it wrong? It might not be.
Yeah, right.
It might be accurate, but I have no idea because we haven't defined it. Is it going to be a combined building? Is it going to be a standalone building? So that was the whole purpose of that feasibility thing. So on the library, if there's going to be an adjustment to that number, I would rather have it more accurate. So, because it just, we don't mislead the people, because some people do watch this, I don't know how many, but some people do pay attention to it. And I would rather put out there, if you think it's going to be $500 to $1 million, and say it's $1 million, then that's the number that we should be putting on it. Because when you say 2.8, I already went back 5 years.
Yeah, right, exactly. Well, no, and that's what Justin did
I
too.
pay attention to it, and there's a small group of people within the town that do pay attention to these numbers. So I think it's important to be accurate with the number. So I can have Lisa Freeman reach out to Justin and see if he can, because we're going to have to do another meeting, obviously, because I have to be in front of finance on the 29th, and whoever is going to be up on that is going to have to join me with that meeting. I'll have Lisa reach out to Justin today and then we'll get that answer to see if that number is what he wants to do, and then we're gonna have to announce it at the next meeting.
Mr. Chairman, could we just put it on without a number, like the police and fire, police and
Highway.
highway?
Yeah,
'Cause
we could, if.
Just don't have a number,
like I
just to
said
be
at the beginning,
determined.
If everybody on this committee is comfortable with doing that, I have no problem at all with that.
I see no issue with it personally, but that's me.
Yeah.
So you're the-
Yeah, I think he has it down for 2027 anyways, on his list, on his projected point of the fiscal year that he wants to have it on.
Yeah, no, okay, I
Oh,
don't
got
want to.
it. No, that's fine.
Well, just thinking that the police station and the highway barn would not be built in 2023.
Correct. Yep. And that's why I went through that and said that obviously we're not going to do it because it hasn't been designed. There's no information in order to put that forward to the voting public to say, yes, yay or nay, and whether or not we want it, because we don't have any information on it. So
But just as a capital building,
yep,
that the library's in the same boat. So I
Yep.
agree with Ken.
Yep.
If you just put it on there to know that these are,
Like the police always had theirs, but there was no number there, because
correct.
there
Yep.
was never a vote taken.
Yep.
So, but I would say,
Even last year, the highway department was on there, and I had asked John to keep it on there until we address the problem, because it's a problem, it's been a problem for years. So we can't just keep ignoring it. Same with the library. I'm not
Yeah,
saying-
no,
I'm not saying
I was
anything different,
remembering
but
when,
that's why those are put on there. So is everybody in agreement that we want to just take the value off of the improvement for the library and put to be determined on that? And because it's on the fiscal year 2027.
I would go along with it to be determined. And I was one that encouraged John not to take off because I said you have to project.
Right.
correct.
Yep.
Take it off and then it's,
Yeah.
oh, where did this come
Yeah.
from? So, but actually, the highway and the fire and the police, thanks to your interest, has been moving along to make progress to see what is needed.
We have to
So,
address them at some point.
we need
so.
to do this.
Yeah.
As long as you don't put a price on it, because I think, prices are going up.
Yeah, everything's up in the air. Could be totally different, could be down or even more next year.
Well, we're talking about the library, until it's totally defined as to what you're gonna do. Aaron's so correct, this plan has clapboards on the outside, you have a brick building, is it gonna be brick, is it gonna be clapboard? So,
yeah, well,
so
no.
all that stuff has to be defined.
Well, it wasn't quoted either, so, I mean, it
Right.
wasn't,
Yep, yep.
we're just
It
going.
was just a fast sketch, just to give you an idea,
Yeah.
that's all it was,
Yeah.
yep.
So it's,
So, Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion, we list it as to be determined.
Yep.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
And where are we, down at the bottom?
well, no.
Yeah, we went through the whole list of what we had, and I was just wondering, it's a very difficult process that we have to go through in trying to figure out what gets done and what doesn't get done, because we don't have enough money to do it all, obviously.
Yeah.
So if there's things that we can move on the list, it helps the committee to know what we can move, so that's what motivated me just to talk to the few people I had a quick opportunity. Like I said, 15 minutes this morning to happen to catch some in the building, so I asked. Did we have any questions about the process? You good on it? You got it now?
I'm good on it now.
Yeah. I know you know it. Mr. Vandenberg? And I'm only asking because I know you're new to it, so.
Well, it's the idea that you rate everything and kind of see what happens, or?
Yeah, so what you're gonna do is you're gonna give it its own point. So
Because
if I take the very first thing on there and I'll just do it just the same as I do everything else because it's the first one, or if you're to the left of me, you get chosen first. Building maintenance, the social center parking lot. If you find that meets the criteria of our scoring sheet and you want to give it 4 points, then you put a 4. if Shirley says that it's a 1 and she has a 3 and he has a 2, we're gonna take the average of that. Everybody's number's gonna be averaged out, so then it could score 3.8, and then the fire truck comes in at 3.9. So that's how the process will actually work. It's just an average of all our scores. We don't do that openly. We score them all independently, then those numbers just get added together and divided by the number of people.
So for instance, as I look at this, I say, oh, I see a quick way to spend $1 million. I have 3 things I think, you know, as I look at it,
Yep.
are important, but is the idea. So what happens after everybody does their rating and the money that, how do you know once everybody rates it that you're not going to spend more than you have?
Well, we can't spend more than we have, so that's the quick answer on that. So the next thing is then, once we have it all rated and we come back and fire department's at 3.9 on the engine, Adam's at 3.8. Now we're deciding, it's like I pointed out, if I took the fire truck at 750 and I took John's expense for the matching the chapter 90 money, we just used up capital, so we can throw everything else out. We can go home.
Right.
This is the hard part of this process, is trying to figure out what scores high on this list, this outline that we have on here, to give it a point, so then we can figure it out. And then we come back to it, then it's up to the individual departments, is say, I'm just gonna use a low number, because I don't have nothing on the top of my head to match with. We have $300,000 to spend. He has a truck for $275, and John has a truck for $212, and they both scored the same. Those two have to look at their department and say, I could actually wait on that for a year, or whatever it is. You gotta figure out what's really critical to fund as a group. This isn't an easy process. This is very difficult, and because we're all members of the community, we're all friendly. It's difficult. It's harder for Ken because he's got to grade it, and he's also a department. And he also has a lot of large needs. So it's not an easy thing.
So if the accumulated wisdom of the group has a lot of different high priorities, and the money, there's not enough money, so to speak, then is the next step to go to the departments, or do we submit another round of voting to get the number down?
Like last year, we had,
There'll be communication with the town administrator as well.
yeah, but last year, if I remember correctly,
Well, we didn't spend, last year, I think we spent like 400,000, I think, Gene?
Well, we did multiple votes. If you're looking, we did some in May and we did some in November.
Yeah,
So we ended up, for the appropriation for '22 was $1.3 million,
all right.
but it was done in pieces.
All right, two different, all right.
well, that's because one was the radio project, if I remember correctly.
We
The
have,
radio was done in the fall. That radio was done in the fall because Howard was concerned that we wouldn't have enough of a turnout for such a large expense. That was definitely a fall.
the MS4 compliance was $46,800. The backup generator was $215,000. One-ton pickup truck was $65,000. Municipal center main roof was $345,000. New day tank and pump was $200,000. Fire brush truck was a matching of $40,000. Fire station electric upgrade was $292,200. Fire station roof replacement was $75,000. School security alarm system was $14,800. And the library ceiling repairs was $75,000.
But I remember at one point, we fit Adams in because
We had extra money.
we didn't have extra money. We needed to fit it in to foot our budget.
Right. Not extra, but you know what I mean.
We never have extra,
not
and we
extra.
never
I mean
find
extra.
any. You
know
will
what
be
I meant.
you will be in big trouble, and you
Yeah.
have to make it past her to get out. So you're on your own.
If I may.
Yes.
What happened is, I think the projects that we determined,
We're too much.
and then we had to.
Scale back.
Yeah, but also there was that amount that the truck or whatever, yeah, I think it was the truck, the pickup.
Yeah, Adam's truck, yep.
Fit into that.
Yep, it fit into that spot perfect, and that's what we did.
Yeah.
Which turned out to be a good use for that,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
because they picked up
Also,
another plow truck now.
Just, Dick, again, sometimes when you're, and we may have to look at this because what is your score? Some of the criteria.
Yeah, and some of it, it won't totally match, so you have to just use your best judgment and come up with a score point for it, that's all.
Do you have to use whole numbers, or can you use fractions?
You can use whatever you want, it's gonna be an average of whatever you come up with.
Okay.
I know somebody that's really good with a calculator, they can figure it out.
But we've got points there. Score 4 points, score 3.
Yeah, but if you feel that you're in between
Yeah.
two and you wanna put 3.5, put 3.5.
Oh, this is better. Must do, should do, could do, nice to do.
So
Right.
it still gets back to what the score is up at the top.
Yeah.
Ideally, if you can keep it to what the numbers are called out, 1, 2, 3, or 4, would make life very easy. But if you feel compelled to do 3.5 or 2.5 or 1.5, then it is what it is.
So Mike,
Yes.
if I'm being dead, she'll forgive me, but, so after we do our first round of scoring,
Yep.
if the grand total of all that was way above what we
Yeah, well, it's-
So if
do, we
we're,
do another round of scoring then? Or does it- how does that work?
well, we'll have to cross that bridge when we get to it, but if we get to a point where we feel that these are all critical items that have to be done, then that's when we have to reach out to the finance director and the town administrator to give us some guidance as to how we would actually fund those things.
I see.
So we can't fund something we don't have a budget for. So that's why last year I was adamant about the fact that I need to know what we have to work with, otherwise we're just going in circles. So now that we know that we have somewhere around $1 million, we can make some educated decisions. Moving forward, because if you look at the fire department's requests on all these large trucks, I think it's somewhere around $3 million, something like that, Ken?
Probably, yeah.
And this is, I thought, and if nobody agrees, that's perfectly fine with me, but we have to, I would think that we, as a town, we need to get somewhat creative on how we fund these things going forward. Now, I've been reminded multiple times that I cannot dictate what a future board or committee or anybody else does. However, I think through proper education and a strategy, we could come up with a way that these large ticket items would get replaced. So let's assume that these trucks get changed every 20 years. And
Thanks.
if you could offset them by 5 years at a time, each 5-year period, you would be replacing one of these large trucks. So I'm just going to use numbers for no other reason but just to put it into a thought. If we had a way that we could put aside out of free cash or earmark or identify or educate or whatever, and Gene will whack me, identify that could potentially be used for future capital things such as that. So say if you put $100,000 aside each year out of free cash, which wouldn't cripple us on the capital items, but in 5 years you would have $500,000. So if he got a tender truck that's 350,000, or if he, and we got that, there would still be 150 so-called money into that budget, that the next big purchase could be one of these larger trucks at 600 or 750,000, that you're very close to it, it's already funded. You don't have to come up with much. If it happens to be his ladder truck, which is somewhere between 1.1 and 1.3 million, depending on when he buys it, if you had $500,000 into it, you only need 500 to do it. So I don't know how that works. I don't know that much about town finance to do that, but it's something that I think as a town, we should look and try to come up with a way to strategize alleviating this major pressure that we have on these large purchases.
So it'd be sort of doing something like what we're doing with the roads, to do the roads. Something similar.
Yeah, but the roads get repaired, so that money
Instead-
gets expended. So, for transparency, I did stop in and talk to Kent to ask him about this because it bothered me. So, they do a similar thing with the ambulance receipts as far as, I think it was $50,000 a year. So that helps go toward the purchase of a ambulance.
Is that what we're doing, Gene?
Well, there's two mechanisms. The ambulance is the receipts reserved for appropriation. So all the money goes into that account, and then we transfer out money to help support the ambulance budget within the general fund. So it's a transfer. When we make that amount of money that we transfer out, we take into account that we will have to purchase an ambulance within a couple of years. So we don't transfer every dollar out. We let some build in there, so when you get to year 5,
Yep.
you have the money to transfer out of that account. With reserving money for a bigger purchase, like a fire truck, you can do one of two things, and you cannot bind a future committee or a future town meeting. So you can choose not to spend all the free cash. So whatever you choose, you have $1 million budget this year. If you choose to spend $900,000, that means $100,000 does not get appropriated, which brings it into next year's free cash number. Of course, that's a little, it can be used for a wide variety of things because it only takes a majority vote. You could use it for operating, it's free cash. So the other thing is, again, you can choose not to spend it. You can have a separate article on the town meeting saying, I move to transfer from free cash to stabilization. And that's more of a town savings account. It would take 2/3 vote at the time when you choose to transfer it out. So transferring into stabilization is majority, transferring out of stabilization is a 2/3. So that's one way to put it in a safe place. But again, year 5 comes along, you may have a town meeting that says, you know what? That's not what I want to do with stabilization. I just want to leave it there. Again, you can't find that future town meeting. You can only educate them and say, this is our plan. We're going to choose, we were given $1 million capital budget, but we're going to choose $900,000. That's all we're going to spend this year. We're going to put a separate article in it on the town meeting saying, I move that we transfer $100,000 from free cash to stabilization, and then you're spending $900,000 this year, and you're kind of reserving that $100,000 for the next 5 years until you have enough money to buy a bigger purchase item. And then the third option, which is not everyone's favorite, is you can have a debt or a debt exclusion, to fund the bigger capital projects as well. I mean, that's always a choice.
What's been our history with that stabilization fund, Gene, where people thought we were going to put money in for something else, but then the town meeting didn't agree down the road? Has that happened much?
No, and it's funny because I don't think we've done many transfers out of stabilization with the exception of the ambulance. We had funded an ambulance, and there was a settlement that was put in there from the water department that was put in as kind of like a placeholder. I think the commissioners were a little concerned that it wasn't going to come out because, again, you can't find a future town meeting. But they were, it was taken out. So we don't typically transfer out of stabilization because we like to maintain that 5% free cash, 5% in stabilization account. It's good for the bond agencies to look at, and, those are healthy numbers. So you don't typically see a lot of money coming out of stabilization unless you're putting some money in before that.
Question? How much do we have in stabilization now?
And that would be a very good question for future town meeting, I'll get that for you shortly.
Okay.
I don't think I have that with me.
Like, any more empty ones of these? And this one, no. Thank you.
So anyways, it's just food for thought to address these things, yes.
So, do we have big items that are coming off the books
For,
that
That
are-
exclusion,
that have been taking, they're done?
I do have that for you. Unfortunately, we did vote a lot of money this year. The projects are not closed out. The only one I have a closeout for is for $575. But you can take one and pass it. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to help you. But
Is that on SharePoint?
no.
yeah.
Or is that on a budget paper?
I just did it this morning, so it is not. It's on regular paper.
Thank you.
That's just a list of all our projects as they're closing out.
Did you get one, Mike?
Not all stuff.
I'll give you one.
Yeah, that's,
Did I not make a copy?
Thank you.
no, I'm good back now.
I think in the, at the fall town meeting, we'll probably have some of these projects completed.
Yeah.
Adam's truck, I may be able to close out another $1,200, but there's no big items.
And just the comments that I came up with about the fire trucks and stuff, that's just to get the thought process moving forward to try to come up with some sort of strategy to address that. Maybe at the end of the day, we can address it, but I think it's important that we talk about it because those, and for argument's sake, one truck is going to take up 75% of the capital budget. Where if we had a little savings account, then it could be considerably less, and it wouldn't be such a dramatic effect on the budget. Because if you look at it, I think you have, well, we only have this year here, so is it for the next 3 years, or 3 or 4 years that we have a large truck on there?
Yeah, the next 2 years in a row.
Yeah. Unfortunately, prior to our 2.5 override, we didn't have any funds to do anything. So now we're trying to figure out how we can start correcting some problems that we have. What's anybody's availability this week? I'd have to, it can't be any shorter than 3 days from now. I'd like to set up the next couple, 1 or 2 meetings prior to the 29th.
I'm out of town Friday.
Yeah.
I will be not out of town, but I'm not available Friday.
Every time.
It's a lot.
What
Yeah, still straight in bed.
what will we do?
Well, we're gonna go, we have to go over our scoring. And we have to set our 5-year plan. So I'm gonna have, as I said at the beginning, Lisa's gonna compile that list of the other 4 years that we have on here. Ken has one up to 2030, I believe. But we'll have the next 5 years so we can submit that, so we stay consistent with our bylaw. And then
Are you looking at the mornings?
I'll make whatever happen. It doesn't matter to me.
I'm okay, whatever.
Yeah, mornings are good for me the next few days.
So the earliest we could do it is 11 o'clock on Thursday, because you need 48 hours. No, wait a minute. 24, 40. Yeah, so we could do it anytime after 11 o'clock on Wednesday, actually. So Thursday, anybody available?
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah,
I should be.
you're good?
I'm fine.
Yeah.
So 11 a.m. Thursday?
Yep.
10.
No, 10 o'clock.
10 on Thursday.
10 o'clock. And can you, if you get a chance, Ken, can you just submit your scores if you have them?
I have them right now.
Oh, okay. So, if everybody can just email their scores into either Lisa or Matt, send them to Lisa, then she'll have them and she can compile it and put it just to keep the process clean that way. She gets them independent of our committee and she can tell us what our tally is.
So,
All right, so that's
how do we send it to,
Lisa Freeman?
yeah, no, I know, but do I have to write all this down, or can you send me a form that I could email her back, or can she send me a form that I can email
Yeah,
back?
I'll have her email you a form. I'll have her email one out to, does that, anybody else need one?
I'm gonna do mine.
Yeah, okay.
But
All right, then you just
Oh,
give
well,
it to
so
her.
we can give it to you.
Oh, you can give it to Lisa before you leave. If
Okay.
you have your scores, you can give them to her whenever you want.
All right, sure.
Yeah. I didn't do my scores yet, so I
I
can't.
haven't either.
All right, so we have Thursday at 10 o'clock.
Any homework for that, Mr. Chairman?
Your scores,
Okay.
for one. I'm gonna get, Lisa will have those, she said she'll do them for me today. I'll email everybody, and I'll email you two separately, a copy of the next 5-year plan. And so if you can look through that and kind of prioritize on that, if there's conflicts on that you see. Or we can just keep them as the suggestions from the departments, whichever way you guys want to do it.
In a way that's sort of better because we end up changing because of what needs change. But
Yeah, I'd just like to be somewhat consistent with our suggestions, so we're not looking like a disorganized bunch of kids each year going to the meeting. So if we have a reasonable list that we can, things will move around a little bit, but I don't want to keep drastically changing it from one year to the next. I think we did a 3-year plan last year, Gene?
Yeah, it was short, you mentioned that.
Yeah, it was short. So what I'll do is I'll make sure that gets emailed to everybody as well, so then you can look at that according to their request to see where we are with that, because they may be the same, they may have changed. Everybody have a chance to look through our minutes?
I did.
scanned them, they look okay.
Yeah, Kelly?
I was reading them right now. so,
Okay, no, you good.
But
Yeah.
it's, they're, okay, you know,
Yep.
I didn't,
Yep.
I reviewed them.
You good, Ken? We want to do independent, or are you comfortable doing all three sets of minutes? We have minutes from February 23rd, February 28th, and March 7th.
I just have a couple of technical,
If you haven't had it, yeah, go through one at a time, it does.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Everybody finished? You all set?
Yeah, no, go through your
No,
suggestions.
okay.
Yeah.
Just on February 23rd, in the middle of 2, it says Town Administrator Matt Wojcik, and then the word town, I don't think should be there. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah. TA Matt Wojcik joined the meeting.
Yeah.
Scratch town, okay.
Otherwise, I move we approve the Capital Improvement Committee minutes of Wednesday, February 23rd, 2022, as corrected or amended.
Have a motion by Shirley, seconded by Mr. Vandenberg. All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, Shirley, on that one.
Yeah. And then on Monday, February 28th, down about a little more than halfway on item B, Mr. Benoit would like to purchase the software as a perpetual license, so these should be eliminated. So
Should be there.
there is, yeah, right.
so they're these.
There is no annual licensing cost.
Yeah. Any other questions on the meeting minutes of February 28th? Or comments?
I move that we approve the Capital Improvement Committee minutes of Monday, February 28, 2022, as amended.
Second.
Motion made by Shirley, seconded by Mr. Vandenberg. All in favor?
Aye.
I'll abstain. Sorry.
We missed you.
Yeah, Chesbro abstains.
On the Monday, March 7th meeting minutes, number 2 on the first page, the second request, the word "if" doesn't seem to be appropriate. Well, it just should say for web storage, I believe. The minor technicalities.
Where is that?
Re-
Oh, yep, the second request
Yeah.
is, it should be is, right?
The second request, it could be for web storage and archiving.
Is for web storage.
It is.
Right?
What? Yeah. Otherwise, if nobody has anything else, I move that we approve the Capital Improvement Committee meeting minutes of Monday, March 7th, 2022, as amended.
Second.
Motion made by Shirley, seconded by Mr. Vandenberg. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'll abstain because I wasn't there.
All right, so we set up that meeting for Thursday. Can everybody meet next Monday?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the 28th, right?
28th.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good for me, too.
At 10.
Yep. Because on the 29th, have to go to Finance Committee, so we gotta, as a group, try really hard to get our stuff done by the 28th. And I'm gonna, just a heads up to everybody, I'm gonna push to get our request in by July 1st this coming year, so we're not doing this next March.
That's according to the bylaw, right?
That's what the bylaw says, So until it gets changed, that's what I'm gonna stick to until,
Unfortunately, you won't have a budget because free cash doesn't get approved until the fall.
no, we won't have a budget, but at least we'll be able to grade those things. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, nothing else? Any questions from anybody? Mr. Vandenberg?
I'm good, thank you.
Shirley?
No?
Ellie?
I'm fine.
Brandon?
I'm good, thank you.
Ken? Ben?
Negative.
And I don't have any either. Entertain a motion to leave.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Shirley, seconded by Ellie to adjourn at 11:18. All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, everybody.